Hey, overconfidence. So I'll keep this quick. First episode, I kind of just want to talk about something that I've been debating in my head, at least struggling with, in the sense that I'm struggling with being a confident individual, if that makes sense. In the sense that like I feel more like bold because the way I've operated for a long time now is that if something scares me, then I feel like more compelled to do it. If that makes sense. Like obviously, like not jumping off a bridge or like fighting a bear, but like stuff that like if it's public speaking, then I'm like, oh, that's scary. The thought of it scares me, so now I feel more compelled to do that in a sense to conquer that fear. And that's how I've been moving like for a long time now. But then I'm like I now have this struggle where I'm trying to not be overconfident as an individual, but also not have faith in that sense, like not believe I deserve to be in a room. For example, like I now go to different meetings, so like I'm on a committee that's help planning a leadership summit. So those are the type of meetings I go to now. And I'm thinking to myself, that's really cool. And I'm like, I don't feel scared. Like I'm always impressed. Like, oh wow, like these are so many cool people I'm working with. And like, oh, I'm actually on this board. But then in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I should be more like, I should be more anxious, but I don't feel anxious. I feel like me not feeling anxious is equating to me being overconfident, which is something I don't want to be because I believe two things. If I'm overconfident, then I'm largely gonna fall off my rock. Like if I'm on this pillar that's just not rooted in anything but just fluff, then eventually I'm gonna fall and that fall's gonna suck a lot. So that's my biggest fear. Not my biggest fear, but that's a fear. And the second thing, I believe that overconfidence just is not a good thing. Just being cocky in general. So what I've kind of came to the solution I'm still working on is just like the stuff I do and I want to do, I can't just be this. I have to I have to have the will to be in those spaces that I want to go to, right? I can't be having one foot in and one foot out, really. I have to have both feet in those wherever I am and know that I am in this room. Like there's a bunch of cool people here, but I'm also here. And I think the solution I found here is kind of put my faith in God. Like, oh wow, like I've done a bunch of cool stuff and I've been to so many cool places, I've met so many cool people, but really I really attribute that to God. And that's the solution I'm coming to now. It's I don't know, saying that out loud is a bit weird, but I think it's interesting. I'm obviously not like an astronaut or anything like that. I'm still like doing, I guess, small scale stuff, but I don't want to be a person that becomes overconfident and fluff, but I also don't want to be a person who doesn't believe in himself, if that makes sense. I think and that's the dichotomy I'm struggling with. So I think that's the solution I kind of like. And it really like a fault is sometimes like some days, like I can see myself, like I'll just be like, oh wow, dang, you look really nice today, or you did this cool thing. Then I feel like I'm leaning too much into that overconfidence. And the other days, I'll mess up. Like if I mess up once, I mess up consecutively a second time, it can throw me off my game. So I'm like, oh dang, I really messed up. I think about all the other mess ups that I've had like the past couple of weeks, months, years, and this gets bad. So it's like I'm really trying to create that narrow balance because I think it is important to not be too, not be to at least believe in yourself, but it's also important not to be over cocky. So it's like I think that's the balance that I'm really working on, which is really cool. But yeah, I do like it. I think it's kind of weird because sometimes like I'll get scared of something or get anxious, and it feels like it doesn't feel like a new feeling, but it feels interesting in the sense of like, oh wow, this makes me anxious. That's something about why it makes me anxious. I think that's kind of a cool feeling that in itself because I think, as I said in the beginning of this episode, I do stuff a lot of the time that I think makes me anxious. But now living a life like that, less over time, all those scary new stuff become less new and less scary. So it just becomes a bit more regular. So like when you find something that makes you anxious, then I guess that's a big sin in itself because it tells you you have a new fear to conquer. I know, like, okay, I'm not gonna get too into the details, but I know, like, with the whole council, there's this idea I really want to push forward, and I was very anxious when I did it. I was like, dang, that I think confrontation is something I'm still not that used to, because if it's family, confrontation is a bit easier, but like with people outside family, I think confrontation is a bit something I'm still working on. I always feel like it's gonna end up in a fight. I don't want to ever be a bad person, or I think that's the idea, or at least be perceived as bad. But I won't be a bad person. I don't want someone to misconstrue me as being a bad person. But I also think that that fear has to be, the way I'm working on that fear is that really I have to have a goal, right? My goal should be a kingdom man. And if other people misconstrue some stuff here and there, then I have to be willing to accept that. But I also have to be also, and the other side of the flip side of that coin, I also have to be willing to apologize when I do cross the line. So yeah, I think I just have to be, I can't be too focused on others' perceptions. I also have to understand that I can make mistakes and slip up. I have to be willing to acknowledge those two stuff. So that's something I'm working on to overcome that fear of confrontation. And I think soon enough, not that I think I'll ever soon enough, I think confrontation is going to become less scary for me as a person. Like I know I've been, like now I've always been wanting to confront more people. And I feel like in the past like 12 months, I've seen a significant increase in stuff. I've been more I've been more upfront about, like, if there's something I think someone should do, or like we should do, or blah blah blah, or something I don't think is right, or something I think is good or like cool, I'm very upfront about it. So for instance, if I think someone has a really cool outfit on, a really cool hat, a shirt, jacket, whatever, I'm like, that's a cool jacket, or if there's a good jacket, like that's one thing I've been doing, like complimenting more people. But also if I think something is wrong, or if I think we should do this way, then I'm much more willing to call out people on that. And I think that's something that I'm a bit more proud of myself, because that was a big complaint I had of myself. I think in especially my sophomore and junior year, and that was always like a New Year thing. Because in my head, I think the biggest fear was like getting into arguments and not knowing how to handle it. So the more I said my New Year's thing, is I'm gonna have, like, funny enough, I know this sounds bad, like I'm gonna have more arguments because I didn't want to be someone who was just silent when anything happened. Because I feel like silence at times can be good. I had a whole speech about silence and why you should utilize it. But I think it's also not the best at all times, because sometimes you have to speak up, right? Whether it's if someone is doing bad, or if you really want to push something you're passionate about. And yeah, I think that's something I've been doing more. So it's becoming less anxious. I know the first time I did it was like, I remember my legs were like shaking a bit, and I was like, I kept on thinking about it in my head over and over. But I do think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. But yeah, I do kind of like that. I think I'm, hopefully, if I can maintain that balance of all these cool stuff about me as a person that's rooted in God, that I can kind of build this strong pillar that I can stand, I don't say proudly because that kind of goes to pride, but like I can stand on boldly. And it's not rooted in fluff because it's rooted in God, but it's also, there's a pillar that I'm standing on that means like I am here. And yeah, like a cool quote I was thinking about in my head that kind of motivates me when I'm like in these new spaces. Like, yeah, all these people are here, but I'm also here. And I think the extension I have is like, okay, so like God put me here at least, so like I can trust in God. So even if I'm like scared, or like, yeah, even if I'm scared, I'm like, I know I have that confidence. I guess that's what like my Philippians chapter 4 verse 13 basically comes from. Like, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is getting a bit long-winded. What else I have to say? But I do think it's cool. I think that's how I'm able to do a lot of cool stuff. I know, like in my freshman year, even though I was always answering questions and asking questions, like just doing whatever I wanted in the classroom, that was like kind of allowed. I did have a fear that was like, oh, this may kind of, people may not, other students in the class may not like it as much. But then like now my freshman year in college, it kind of just like that's not like the biggest on my mind. Kind of if I have a question and I leave that classroom without asking that question, that kind of irks me. Cause I'm like, dang. Kind of remember I want to leave the class. Like I have other stuff I want to do, so like I have to ask the question in the class, wherever, or just do the stuff I want to do, if that makes sense. Or if it's like answering questions as many times as I want to, because I love answering questions. I think that's my way to engage and just not fall asleep. So, like those stuff, I see that I'm not gonna waste my time because I don't. At the end of, I think I'm still this from Denzel Washington. At the end of my life, I don't want it to be a case of I didn't do so and so because of other people who don't even remember you like that. So, yeah. Besides that, though, I have nothing else to say. So have a great day.